So, about these end caps. I am currently recording this on October 15th, and Monogatari's still not over yet. Supposedly, it's going to end on the 20th, this upcoming weekend, or somewhere, but I'm not entirely sure of that. So, I'm gonna give it, one more week, and if it doesn't end this weekend, I'm gonna move it into the fall season stuff, because then it's clearly just a fall season show, as well as a summer season. So, in the meantime, I'm going to tentatively reserve Senpai is an Otoko no Ko as an end cap, because that's really the only one left on this list that I think would be a good substitute end cap. So if I roll an 11, I'm just going to skip over it. So in any case, what do we got? We got 21 shows left. So let's see what's next. It is 19. What's 19? Grendizer U. Okay, this is I think a remake of Grendizer, which I think is a Go Nagai show. I'm not entirely sure. Let's give it a go. Okay, look. Let's talk about the bare minimum to expect from an anime remake. The bare minimum is to not assume that people saw the original and don't know what you are. Let me tell you the events of the first scenes in Grendizer U. And yes, I had to look up twice to make sure that this was a remake and not a sequel, because the opening scenes make no goddamn sense. Okay, so dude crash lands in the desert in Saudi Arabia coming out of space. Lady in a car, who I presume now is the lead love interest for the series, picks him up. Giant robots start attacking them. And then another giant robot comes out of the sky and saves them. Then the OP happens. And then it cuts to them doing a shopping trip in Riyadh, in Saudi Arabia. And then it cuts to them doing a motorcycle race. What the fuck is the robot for? I know what it's for. What is going on in this world? Where did the giant robot come from? What is the giant robot? They haven't even called it Grendizer yet. I'm pretty sure that's the name of the robot. I don't know. I didn't watch the original Grendizer. What are the other giant robots? Apparently they're from Mr. Doom or Mr... No, it was Mr. Hell. They're Dr. Hell. I don't fucking remember because it's a stupid fucking name anyway. What the fuck is going on in this show? I shake my head. Oh my god. I have no words. What the fuck just happened? This show definitely earned its below 6.0 score on Mal. Also, it does not look very good. The color design is terrible. Action's not great. Jesus fucking Christ, get it out of my face. Okay, Grendizer U, off the list. Fuck you. Down to 20 randoms left, plus our end caps. Let's see what we roll next. Come on, it is 13. What's 13? Yatagarasu. Okay. I think this one's supposedly a hidden gem of sorts. I have absolutely no clue what it's about. Let's just dive in. Okay, the summer season continues to surprise me. I just finished up all of Yatagarasu, The Raven Does Not Choose Its Own Master. Good times. This is just like a straightforward historical drama thriller with some fantasy elements in it. Which, it's basically it's I have to make the comparison immediately. It's a lot like Apothecary Diaries, but, and the but is what makes this show stand out. So, Apothecary Diaries, but they're actually a group of crow people who they like shape shift between human form and crow form, and hence the name Yatagarasu, which I believe Karasu means crow, if my haiku knowledge is correct. That's how I learn my Japanese from anime, because I'm a goddamn dumbass weeb. So anyway, so that's like the main fantasy element, I guess, and then it sort of bases itself on like similar concepts to like historical like tales, I guess, or if, I don't know if this is, I'm not an expert on ancient Chinese or Japanese history, so I don't know what's like based on reality and what's just based on myths and stuff, but it's got like the 4 different houses and stuff vying for the emperor's attention. But in this one, they make a big old spectacle of like real like bachelorette style, or bachelor style, I guess, of who he's gonna pick to be his consort. Is it gonna be the Eastern House, which is known for being seedy and conniving? Is it gonna be the Northern House with this? Man, she's got her baggage there, and that's what it's like for the first like 2/3 of the series. Like the first 13 episodes, I'm not saying the last 7 episodes are bad, but I feel like they could have gotten away with 1 core for this. I feel like they could have gotten away with that, because 20 episodes is a weird number of episodes. Maybe they specifically planned it around the fact that the Olympics were airing, and it probably, I don't know if this is one that got bumped around because of the Olympics. It probably was, because a whole lot of stuff got bumped around for the Olympics. So, anyway, 20 episodes, but it's like the first big arc is like the first 13 episodes, and then there's a second arc afterwards that I was like, as soon as that arc started, and it's like, wait, shape-shifting monkey people now that eat Yatagarasu? And I was like, how the fuck is this actually going to fit into the story? And it wasn't really until like the last 3 to 2 episodes that I was like, oh, okay, I see how this fits into the broader framework of the plot, the main plot that's going along. Because it's like, you don't have to, not everything has to be absolutely tied together like in a super neat way and everything. But if you're going to do like a thriller, like, and this has like some mystery elements to it, some drama elements, you kind of want everything to be real, like, streamlined and like focused on a particular point. And so I was concerned at first that the second arc wasn't going to do that, but by the end it really looped back around to everything being like centrally focused on this the drama of the court, one could say, while also bolstering it with this really cool world building stuff. Like, this is it's got some pretty cool ideas for world building, like the way that the specific ways that nobles and, like, I guess the common people interact, since they are crow people and not just humans, and how that like affect, like, what sort of like limitations are placed on like commoners versus nobles and stuff. And then apparently there's an even lower class that's just called, like, well, there's court ravens and then there's hill ravens. So it's like the court people and then like the everybody else. And then apparently there's a class below them that they just call horses, which are not actual horses. They're just ravens, they're just Yatagarasu that are forced to be in raven form the entire time. So basically like a slave class, sort of. Uh, very... And then it's just a lot of stuff like that that makes it really fun to see how this world fits together. And the second arc in particular is where it's like, okay, but here's the whole fucking picture. And again, if you're watching this series, if you're watching me make this video, you should know that there are spoilers. So here's the spoilers. Turns out that Yamauchi, the world that they live in, is actually just a real tiny world that exists hidden, separate from the human world, because the human world exists just outside the realm of Yamauchi. And so, like, part of the second arc is, like, the human world leeching into Yamauchi, and our prince, I believe... See, okay, so they never call him... Well, the subtitles never call him but in on the Mal entry, it says his name is Wakamiya. I don't know if that's a title. I can't remember what they actually call him in the show because it's like 6 syllables. So I'm just going to call him the prince. Anyway, so the prince is basically like keeping this world together. But even before we get to that point, I really like the historical drama aspect of it. When you put this fucking weirdo prince at the center of it all, who is basically just like, I could not give a flying fuck about your noble customs and your ceremonies and all of that shit. I will choose a consort the way I want to choose them, and that is by completely fucking ignoring them until I am ready to pick one. So he's kind of a dick. But he doesn't, like, act like a dick, I guess. He's certainly a character. But he's a fun leader character to follow, and I can understand just the fact that he is just so goddamn good at his job that it makes people want to follow him. Which I think Yukiya, as this sort of, not necessarily fish out of water character, but like Hill Raven, but not quite Hill Raven, being upgraded to Court Raven in order to serve under the prince, was a much more interesting framing device than the first episode, where it was going to be from the perspectives of the different consorts. Not that that's a bad thing, because all the different consorts are really cool and interesting. Like, it's originally framed through Sebi, who's from the Eastern House, and she's just kind of this ditzy, like, doesn't really know what's going on around, doesn't seem to know what's going on around her, princess, sort of. But then it turns out that she really earns that, what they say about the Eastern House about her being fucking a deceptive little cunt she is. Jesus Christ, she's a nasty woman. She's not good. I'll leave it at that, because I do want... Well, I've already spoiled it, but man, episode 13 is fucking something, man. It is just completely turns everything on its head with how and episode 12 too, with how the prince just completely dresses down all the princesses verbally, and it's just like, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, you're cool, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. Now, I'm going to say this like once and not dwell on it at all, because I don't have a ton of proof for it. I don't think this show likes women very much. Uh, because both of the main villains are women, and they are incredibly deceitful, conniving, nasty women at that. Uh, I could just be reading too much into it, but it duplicitous women seems to be the theme of this show. So, if it happens a third time, I don't know if this show's getting another season or not. It wasn't super popular here. I don't know if it was popular in Japan or not. But if it does get another season, and the third villain is going to be another conniving, duplicitous woman, I'm going to have some questions. But even then, the way that there's this turn at the very end of the final episode with the culprit behind everything, where she basically just kind of throws it back in the nobles' faces of like, what do you mean? Like, she was basically disposing of her fellow Yatagarasu, as the nobles would say, and then she's like, my fellows? When the fuck did you do anything for me? And so I think as this story goes on, I think we're going to see a lot more of the noble commoner divide come into focus, which is always one of my favorite themes in fiction, because fuck the rich. So we'll see how everything comes crashing down as the world of Yamauchi becomes more and more unraveled, as it becomes more and more entangled with the human world and such. Hopefully the characters keep being as awesome as they are. Like, I really like Yukiya as this sort of apprentice character almost. He has so many conflicting desires within him of like, I want to support my house, but I don't want to take over my house because that's going to cause a line of succession strife, so I'm just going to act like an idiot so that my older brother can take over, but he's not actually my older brother because I actually come from a family line that's higher ranked than them. And then you throw in all the shit with the prince and and how he develops a sense of loyalty towards him and admiration and stuff. Yukiya really steals the show most of the time. He is such an incredibly fun MC for this series, and just very, very compelling to watch. I like him a lot. And I can say that a lot with a lot of characters in the show. Like, I like a lot of characters, and then I like a lot of characters until they do the fucking heel turn, and I'm just like, you, fuck you. That's another one of, I should highlight that again, that this is just a lot of the, at least for the first arc, like the first 13 episodes, the big thrust of it is the drama and the mystery surrounding, like, who's trying to assassinate the prince, who's actually on the prince's side in this line of succession, and who's on his brother's side, and who's just out for themselves, and all these different interconnecting threads that weave this very interesting and like riveting drama, thriller that occasionally gets just like completely blows its top, where it's just like, that was a fucking hell of a twist. You might have gone a little bit overboard, but hell of a twist. So oh God, I'm just getting more and more tired the more of these I record. That's probably not a good sign. Anyway, just really, really compelling drama for the series, especially like this sort of the relationship between Yukiya and the prince, of just like this master servant kind of relationship, and like how loyal is Yukiya willing to stay in terms of like his own desires versus the prince's desires. Um, yeah, it's good stuff, and it looks really good too. It's not quite at it's not quite at Apothecary level, especially in terms of like the background designs, because like they're fairly, with the exception of like the landscapes, which have some really, I like specifically the landscapes with like the big rice paddies in them. I thought looked really fucking cool. Um, like you see this big mountainous landscape, and you see like the rice paddies spread across the mountain, the hillsides and stuff, and it looks really cool. Aside from that, there's nothing particularly cool about the backgrounds like there is in like Apothecary, like the interiors and stuff. But it gets the job done for that part, and lets the really strong, very character designs, like very crisp and clean, very straightforward character designs take center stage. Um, this is Studio Pierrot production, by the way. Now that Studio Pierrot is not working on 7,000 long-running shonen anime, they're really, really starting to flex their stuff. Like in the past few years, they've always been a good studio, but now they get to not be the laughing stock that they are sometimes with some of the like really weak parts of like the long-running shonen stuff. But yeah, this is a damn good looking show. Very crisp and clean. Shot composition is really solid. It's really great at leading you on in the mystery, just like keeping you on the edge of your seat, being like, "Ooh, what's his face saying right now? I need to know." It's real good stuff. Color design's really solid. It's much cooler, like a lot more cool tones, like in terms of like color temperature, as opposed to Apothecary. So it's not quite as distinctive, I guess, but it's still definitely all its own, and it just nails the aesthetic that it's going for, and I think that's the right aesthetic to go for. Also, the way that they animate the Yatagarasu, when they're in their raven form, looks really damn cool. Like, they researched the hell out of how birds fly and move and stuff. But that's like one of my like minor pet peeves with anime, is like if you see a bird in the background, sometimes it's literally just like a floating line a lot of the time. But this show really goes out of its way to like get the minute details of the different wing flaps and the way their feet move and the way their necks go all around and stuff. So I was really impressed by that. And the action scenes, there's not a lot of them, but when they're there, they are pretty damn good. Although I think they pull back a little on like showing gore to the camera. Like there was a shot where like clearly a raven was getting its throat slit, but you don't actually see like any of the gore on the neck. You just see like a blood spray outside of the neck. That's another one of my minor issues with the second arc, is that it just goes full tilt into dark shit like immediately after the first arc. Like it is just a extremely quick escalation from like, oh, you deceived that woman into accidentally killing that other woman. Oh, you are nasty. To, okay, that's a giant monkey eating a baby. Boy, that escalated quickly. Yeah. So, yeah, damn good show. I would definitely tune in for season 2. I want to know how this world falls apart or how the prince keeps it together. Whichever way it goes, I would definitely like to see more. Okay, Yatagarasu is complete. And we're actually gonna go all the way up to the number 12 spot, just above Wistoria, with a light 8. So far, this is my favorite show of the summer season. Was really good. Give it a go. Okay, back to the randoms. And okay, and I'm also recording this the day of the Monogatari off-season and monster season ending, so it is confirmed to have finally ended, so I don't need to reserve this other one as an end cap, so we can just go back to like normal. So let's pull up our random number generator. We got 19 shows left. Let's see what we roll. 16. What's 16? Dungeon People. I saw a few people watching this one. It looked like a fun old comedy series. Let's see if I vibe with it. Well, an attempt was made, but didn't quite stick it as much as I'd hoped. I got a little over 3 episodes into Dungeon People. It's a fun-ish premise that I'm sure would be like totally fine week to week. This is not a binging show. Because the humor is very, very light. It's not like gut busting at all. This is almost, I don't want to call it slice of life because it's really not slice of life, but it's just it's got the mellowness of a slice of life series. It's a workplace comedy series masquerading as a fantasy series. So like the premise of this one is basically like, an adventurer like gets recruited to help work on the dungeon because apparently the dungeon is like run by an administrator who like sets everything up so that adventurers can do adventuring in the dungeon, which is like, that's cool for like a premise idea, but it also kind of dead ends really fast, especially if you try to think about it for more than 5 seconds of like, now, okay, but why? Why though? There doesn't seem to be any like major economic benefit because a lot of resources seem to be going into the dungeon instead of coming out. But that's neither here nor there. The point is, it needed more things, I think. The premises, each premise, like each idea gets stretched out a long ways, and it doesn't really like, they're not super like mind-blowing things either, like in comparison to like how Delicious in Dungeon explained its dungeons. This one is much more of just like this is just like this is where we work, and we get our materials from this place, and then we just set everything up, and it's just kind of very bog standard fantasy workplace comedy stuff that you've probably seen a lot before. Occasionally it does something kind of funny, but not a whole lot, which is a shame because I like our main character quite a lot. Clay, she is this solo adventurer who just got adventuring beaten into her by her dad and has like these very weird hang-ups sometimes that are very fun to explore, that go into making her a really good adventurer. I like that the dungeon administrator's like a hoarder and
doesn't want to get rid of stuff in case it might be useful. That's a fun idea, but it doesn't really do much other than being a fun idea. And also, this is not a good looking show. It's super, super basic looking. Not a lot of line work. This is an OLM show apparently, so that kind of makes sense. It's very, the character designs are extremely basic and not all that good. Occasionally, it's got some interesting layouts and like decent action cuts, but that's very occasionally. Yeah, this one's just kind of lacking all around. I don't hate it. I don't even really like dislike it as much. This would be like a straight 5 if I finished it. But I could also, but it's just kind of boring a lot of the time. Like episode 4 opens with just a very long scene of them like going to the Thieves Guild and explaining, like they explain what a bag of holding is and what a scroll of return is. They explain it for much longer than is necessary to explain it. It's like, okay, this, if you're watching this ain't, if you're watching Dungeon People, this ain't your first fantasy rodeo. You know what a bag of holding is. You can probably figure out what a scroll of return is. Why are we taking so long to explain it? It's just stretching stuff out to the point where it's just not funny anymore. So, yeah, I'm done.
Okay, Dungeon People off the list, unfortunately. Okay, so let's roll that random number generator again. What do we have left? We have 18 left. Let's see what we roll. 4. What's 4? The strongest magician ... yeah, this is one of those really long title ones. It's probably just going to be an overpowered fantasy or overpowered isekai one. Fuck it, let's jump in.
You know, sometimes all you can really say about a show is that it looks fucking gross. I got about 5 minutes into, what was the full title? The strongest magician in the Demon Lord's army was a human. Which, first of all, great job giving away the twist, which I didn't even get to. You gave away the twist in the title. Whatever. This show looks so fucking bad. The color design is fucking gross. There's the magic particle effects and color design just looks like vomit, and it's imparseable. Can't tell what the fuck's going on. So many CG monsters. They look like shit. They look like big goopy shit. What else was I gonna... Oh, the fucking After Effects bullshit they do with fire and explosions and dust clouds is so fucking terrible. It is some of the worst particle effects that I've seen in anime. It's just bad. It's so bad. There's nothing visually about this show that is even remotely passable. It is dog shit. Like, I can't even summon any complaints about the story other than it being really generic and uninteresting, because the visuals overwhelm it with how fucking terrible they are. It's bad.
Okay, strongest magician is going bye-bye. Let's crank down the random number generator. And next is 15, pretty low on the list. Twilight Out of Focus. I think this is a Shonen Ai series, maybe? A little bit of yaoi? Been a very long time since I've seen yaoi that I actually liked, so if that is what this is, maybe it's good. Let's find out.
Alright, I gave it the old college try, but I'm just not vibing with this one particularly. I got an episode and a half into Twilight Love and Focus, I think that's the title. It is indeed yaoi. And it's just totally average, I guess. Just straight down the middle. I do think it's very good at evoking sensual feelings, I guess. So on the actual yaoi front, it's doing pretty good. But it's really not all that interesting. This show so far has the problem of everything outside of the romance elements are not interesting. They're not like terrible, but it's just kind of boring, and it feels like stuff is happening to set up romantic encounters, and that's all that it's there for. So it feels a lot of this stuff feels very inorganic. Like the flashback to when he first finds out. I don't even remember what their names are. When he finds out that his roommate is gay, and it's like it's because the roommate has a cold, and so he starts hallucinating that this guy is his boyfriend, and so he fucking like licks his face. Like, yeah, you doing that with your boyfriend? You just lick his face? Weird, man. That's weird. And then what actually got me to drop it was, it's like in the second episode, like we get through this, like, I promise as the gay roommate that I am not going to flirt with you. And then in episode 2, he just falls asleep on him. Like, just resting on him. So much for that. Yeah, I guess that's just my main problem with this, is that it's really not setting this. This is Studio Dean ass yaoi. You remember fucking what was Junjo Romantica? Did anyone watch that? Does anyone in this audience remember that? Studio Dean is the only studio that has like consistently picked up yaoi productions, as far as I can tell, and like good on them for doing that. But it's also Studio Dean, so it's not the best looking show. Now granted, this is not a bad looking show, but there are things about it that are awkward. Like, these are some yaoi ass designs. Like, the blonde roommate is just so very like, yeah, that's a yaoi design. I haven't seen any yaoi hands yet, but I'm sure they're coming. And some of the other character designs are just fucking dumb looking. Like the twins, I think they're twins, with the fucking lopsided bowl cuts. What the fuck, man? And yeah, I guess this is just a painfully average kind of show, I guess. Yet I wish the stuff around the romance was good, and the stuff that was the situations that were setting up the romance, I wish they were good, because I do think that there is some potential for good chemistry coming out of these two. But yeah, it's just not there, I guess.
Alright, Twilight Out of Focus coming off the list. I think I mistakenly called it Love in Focus during the recording, because I think that's a manga that I saw at the bookstore once. But anyway, that's off the list. We'll do 2 more randoms maybe for this video, unless we get another big one this time, which is 8. My dear friend Nokotan. Okay, this one got a lot of hype going into the season and then immediately fell off. So let's jump into it.
Uh-huh. Yeah. You know, try hard is a strong word to criticize this show with. And unfortunately, I think it's also very accurate. By God, this show is unfunny. So not funny. And I got through half the first episode. That is how not funny this show is. It's decent enough to look at. I think the weirdly out of place CG deer models could have been better if they were like, not better. I think the models are fine. Their use as like a jarring juxtaposition could have been funnier if they knew how to make this show funny. But man, the show is not funny. It is so not funny, but it also thinks that it is the funniest fucking thing on the planet. You can just tell from the way the reaction shots are structured and just the specific like framing of things and how over the top the acting is and the way how over the top a bunch of the characters act, totally unprompted. Like I understand what the joke is. It's just not a fucking funny joke most of the time. Like them reacting to the whole class reacting to Nokotan calling the main character a delinquent. Just this fucking frenzy of like, what? She's a delinquent? What? I never would have guessed. And it's so abrasive and bad and not funny. I think that's really what pushes it over from just not being funny to being actively painful to watch is that this show really thinks highly of itself based on how hard they go with trying to make these gags over the top and in your face and funny. It is so not good. The one gag that I thought was good was the one that you saw floating around on Twitter all day when this first episode came out, where she like busts through the classroom door and there's debris flying everywhere and it bashes people in the head and breaks this dude's nose and there's glass shards flying everywhere. I think the music choice is a little weird. I would have done like this big like orchestral sinister kind of thing, like if I were to pick the music for it, but instead they went with this weird, very deep chanting thing. Which, again, I understand the concept of doing something unexpected to be funny, but it doesn't work all the time. It really doesn't work here. I cannot stand this show.
Okay, Nokotan. Off the list. God, that sucked. Okay. We'll do one more random before we jump to our next end cap. No, down. It's gonna be 15. Red Cat Ramen. Absolutely no clue what this is about. Probably some kind of comedy slice of life thing with an anthropomorphic cat, I'm gonna guess. Well, fuck it, we ball, let's go.
You know the meme about like, wow, anime food's so good? This show is the opposite of that. It's gross. I was willing to let the CG cats slide because it's like, okay, fine. They're cats, they're a little more complex than humans. It still doesn't look good, but I was gonna let it slide. And then they had the CG bowl of ramen where the noodles were CG and the onions were CG and all of the things they put into it were CG and it looked gross as shit. I feel like that's self-explanatory, right? Why I don't want to continue watching this show. It's a show about ramen, and the ramen looks like fucking garbage. It is fucking gross looking. Don't need to say anything else. We're moving on.
Okay, Red Cat Ramen off the list. Bye. Now it's time for another end cap. Oshinoko Season 2. I'm so hyped for this. I just read the manga volumes that that the end of the season covers. This is one of my favorite arcs of the manga. Let's just jump into it. This is gonna be good.
Whew, baby, that sure was something. Just watched all of Oshinoko Season 2. This show can be so unhinged sometimes. Okay, so Season 2 has the Tokyo Blade arc, which is like the majority of it, and then it has like the Miyazaki like trip arc in it as well. So this season actually goes past what I have read in the manga so far. The manga has been coming out a little bit late in the US, so I read up to like right at where I read up to is where Aqua thinks that the person who is his dad is dead already, and so he decides to give up on this revenge quest. That's where I have read up to so far, because that's where the physical prints are in the US so far. And so that only takes up through episode 10, I think, of season 2. So then the next 3 episodes were like completely new to me. Which brings up an interesting point of discussion before I get into talking about the production of this show, is that once it started getting into new material, I started noticing the flaws in this production less. So I want that to be put out there right away. I don't know if it's because the last couple episodes were just more consistent and less ambitious. I don't think they were, actually. I think they were at roughly the same level of quality, or if just the setting made some of the faults more obvious, but I just want to put that out right away before I dive into my production nitpicks, because they are nitpicks. There's nothing fundamental. There's like one thing that comes close to being like a notable fault, and it's the same thing that's always a notable fault with anime. It's compositing. But still, this show certainly does it a lot better than other shows, and it's a lot. Most of my issues with the compositing are in. By the way, I really fucking like this season. This is really good. I just wanted to lead off with this because I'm going to forget about it otherwise. And also because the contrast between what I had seen and what I hadn't seen, and me noticing the flaws more in the stuff that I had seen already, is stuck in my brain now. Like, that is... I think that is something to keep in mind, really. Anyway, my one really Actually, I only have two pretty kind of even worth talking about at all faults. One is the compositing, just like the character on top of the background. And one of the things that I noticed about this season that I don't think I pointed out in the previous season when I covered it in the seasonal wrap-up show is that the character outlines are sort of, they're not complete outlines. Or they're, at the very least, they're not complete solid black outlines. They are not a uniform color through the entire outline. Sometimes, like, they will be broken up by, like, white or gold or some other color in that range. And it makes for a very striking effect. It makes the characters' designs really pop in an interesting way. But I do think sometimes, not always, but sometimes that does lead to more compositing issues when they just sort of stick out from the background a little bit more than usual. And the fact that the character designs are at such a high level of detail and quality by themselves makes it stand out even more. Because, like, these are some of the most fucking gorgeous character designs I have ever seen in anime, period. Like, it's simply some of the best character designs I've ever seen. Just in terms of, like, sheer beauty and, like, artistic appeal of how incredibly detailed and fine-tuned everything is. And all the little, like, nooks and crannies of everything. And it's just so goddamn gorgeous to look at. And I think I said this in the last season. The first season did not move all that much outside of, like, the idol dance scenes. Occasionally it would have, like, which I said was, like, notable for a Doga Kobo production, which Doga Kobo's kind of known for fluidity and stuff. Because of the stage play arc for this one, there is a lot more movement in it, and I really like how they handled it. It's not, like, full-on Sakuga, like 24 frames a second Sakuga. It is not that level, or even 12 frames a second. It is like, it feels a little bit more limited than, like, something you would see in, like, Frieren or something. Which I think actually fits the tone pretty well, and not the tone, but the general artistic vibe of it all. I don't, like, the only time there's, like, really, like, high frame rate Sakuga is in some of the more flourishy character movements, which always looks super cute and awesome and adorable. But some, like, the action scenes in the stage play feel a little bit more purposefully jagged to make them feel rougher and more intense and just more thrilling in general. I think that's the general effect that it came away with, and it worked really well while also maintaining the integrity of the character designs to a very high degree, which is pretty rare for action scenes. But this is such a high quality show that of course it was going to happen. Before I forget, the one other thing that I would say is, like, a very mild flaw is specifically, and again, this could just be me with my expectations, is that for Kana's scene in particular, like her big scene in the play, where she really shines, I think it sticks a little... Not that it sticks too close to the manga, like, again, because I have read the manga, I could very, like, obvious, and it's one of my favorite moments in the manga. It was very plain for me to be like, okay, that's that panel, that's that panel, that's that panel. I think there was just like a flow issue with it, like leading. I think the shots themselves were fine. It's just the lead in to and lead out of those shots and how long those shots last. Had a little bit of like timing issues. This is the level of nitpick that I'm at with this show, because otherwise I could just talk fucking nonstop about how goddamn gorgeous it is. The color design is so fucking cool, especially with these like insanely detailed, or not insanely, these like fantastical Tokyo Blade designs. We get to play a lot with color, not just in the like actual diegetic color of the scene, but in the abstract, like non-diegetic stuff to convey tone, just to convey like accents. The first episode's a really good example of this, where it's just got like non-diegetic paint splashes essentially flying all over the place. Looks really fucking cool. All of the characters that have like big moments in the stage play, they are just so incredibly fucking gorgeous moments. Melt's moment in particular, just this big abstract like 2-minute long sequence, almost probably like minute to 2 minute long, where it's just a abstract shapes and like turning into his character and turning into different symbols and stuff. Mostly, I think it's almost completely dialogue less, so the symbolism just speaks for itself, but you know what what Melt is feeling by this point so well that the symbolism is just so incredibly obvious. And it's just so fucking moving. I think that's actually my favorite moment visually in this, because it's just so stunning and completely out of nowhere, I guess. Again, just expectations playing with my brain, because I knew the Kana stuff was going to be great, and it was, aside from my very mild nitpicks about the timing and stuff. And you know what? In case you weren't aware, I'm a big fan of Kana. Really, really like Kana. I pointed it out in the first season, I think, and her arc just continues to be more to become more complicated and more interesting and more complex, with how this conflict between her being really good at drawing out the appeal of other actors, but still having in her head the idea of, I want to be the star, I want to shine, but also when I try to do that, I cause problems for the production sometimes, and so that conflict in her is just so incredibly riveting and beautifully executed, leading to her big show-offy moment in the stage play, which, by the way, for the stage play part in particular, huge shout out to the voice cast for this. I forget most of the cast, except that Kana is voiced by Megumi Han, and I only know that because Megumi Han is such a huge name in voice acting. You probably know her best as Gon from Hunter x Hunter, but she's done a ton of other stuff that is slipping my mind at this point. Dozens and dozens of roles. But yes, the incredible vocal range of this cast was just so stunning. Aqua's voice actor in that screaming segment during his big part in the play, just fucking blood-curdling, screaming, just this immensely emotional outpour from him was just so fucking good. Oh man, this Oshi no Ko is good, guys. I don't know if you know. I don't know if you've heard of this little-known show called Oshi no Ko, but it's really fucking good. And I haven't even gotten to like most of the narrative stuff about why it's good. I've only been talking about the fucking, like, how it looks and how it sounds. It's because that is such a huge part of it. But also, the story is so fucking good. There's a reason that this stage, I don't know what the name of the arc is, this stage play arc is like considered to be like the favorite arc of the fans, because it is just fucking everything Oshinoko is, aside from the outlandish wild ass plot twists. Aside from that stuff, this arc is everything that Oshinoko is. The intense interpersonal character drama, the personal character conflicts of like what they desire out of their performances, out of their career, how they are able to approach acting. And we even get this really great do I call it a subplot? Subplot? It's kind of just part of the main plot of the conflict of how a work gets adapted. With this, I think her name's Samejima Sensei, who is the author of the manga for Tokyo Blade, which I think is supposed to be Demon Slayer, with a little bit of Jujutsu Kaisen thrown in. And so we get these very, very long rambling screeds and exposition about how adaptation works, how the artistic process works, how drawing a weekly manga works. I don't remember if Kaguya-sama was weekly or not. I'm pretty sure Oshinoko is weekly. I'm not entirely sure. But I think Akasaka definitely has some experience to draw in there. I'm pretty sure Kaguya-sama was weekly, but I'm not entirely sure. I'll have to check on that. But it's these intense outbursts of like creators being creative, and this conflict over how much you want to compromise your vision and how much you want to let other people in to affect the story that you are creating is just so fucking good and very, very me. Like, to this day, I have not let anyone else ever edit any of my videos because I just can't hand it off to other people. Also, I can't pay people. That's another big part of it. But I also, even if I could pay for it, I wouldn't really. I don't want to hand it off to someone, because it's like, then how much of this is even my vision anymore? So I totally get parts of what this is going after. And also, shout out to screenwriters, I guess. Akasaka must really be like, you know what? These screenwriters get thrown under the bus all the fucking time. I need to show them some love. And they sure did with this story. It's really fucking good. The Tokyo Blade stage play was just so fucking good. Melt coming to terms with not being a great actor, but working his fucking ass off to be the best that he can be, and using every trick he can to come off as really cool. Akane wanting to outshine Kana, both at their peak levels and stuff. It's just so goddamn cool to watch. And ultimately ending with like this sort of fake reveal, actually, of the fact that the person who Aqua has been chasing this whole time is actually dead, and so he just gives up on this revenge quest of his. But plot twist, turns out he's not dead. It's a completely different person, and it seems like Akane is the only person who has an inkling of that. I love this characterization of Akane as like how analytical and calculating she takes an approach to acting with, and how that transfers over to her figuring out mysteries in real life, or like figuring out secrets, I guess, in real life surrounding Aqua. Also, the relationship stuff, boy, it is just the juicy drama of it. Because in case you probably didn't know, I am much more of an Aqua guy. That is my ship for the series. As of the end of season 2, not going in that direction. It looks like he's going with Akane instead, which I'm not mad about, because that's also, I could see how that works. It does have a bit of an Oedipus complex vibe to it, because like throughout the series we constantly see Akane framed as though like Aqua sees a lot of I in her, his mother. So that has to be addressed at some point. Personally, I would like to see Aqua. I don't know where the rest of the story is going to go. Actually, by the time this video goes up, the manga's probably over already. Because, like, I think it was at the beginning of October it said it was going to end in, like, 4 chapters. And I'm filming this, like, 3 weeks into October. So, by the time this video goes up, the manga could already be over and we'll get, like, a final pairing, I guess. No spoilers. I will fucking murder you if you post spoilers. Because I have not read the manga yet. That's a bold thing for me to say about a video where I'm just spoiling an entire season. But also, I really like that the Aqua as Aqua and not just Goro, the doctor that he from his past life, like that personality is starting to like split off from Aqua, this teenager. Like they're starting to become sort of separate entities in his own mind, and so that's a very interesting dynamic there. It makes for a very interesting way for this character to approach this revenge story, because like yes, he is technically the doctor from the past life, but he also has this brand new life as Aqua, and I think Aqua is starting to take over as a personality as opposed to the doctor. Very curious to see how that goes in the future, especially because the second arc in this season does the big ol' Oshinoko fuck off plot twist shit, which is in-fucking-sane. We've got this creepy little gray-haired girl who seems to know about how the doctor died, how I died. We get the character design reveal of their Aqua and Ruby's actual dad. We get Ruby finding out that the doctor is dead already. And now she had sort of approached this whole thing as like, I wanted to revive B. Komachi so that I could reach out to the doctor. Now that he's dead, now she's going down the same revenge path as Aqua of like, I need to find this motherfucker who killed him. And just the last like 3 episodes, well, closer to the last 2 episodes really, were just like insane Oshinoko level plot twists. That's the shit. That's that good shit that adds just the right level of insane trash to this series. I love it. It's so good. And I worry about how much of the rest of the series it will take up, because like that stuff is good, but I never want it to be like the thrust of the show. I like this show much better when it's doing like different entertainment arcs, like the reality show from the first season, the like TV drama from the first season, the idol stuff that Ruby and Kana and Memcho are doing, which also got some focus in the back end of this season. It was pretty good. The music video at the very end was actually really fucking good, very poppy and bright and colorful. Loved it. But I hope that there are still a few good, just entertainment arc stuff left in the tank for this series. I have no idea how many more seasons this will get. The third season's already been announced, I think. That'll probably come out late next year or early 2026, probably. I have no clue, to be honest. But, yeah. Oshi no Ko is really, really good. I feel like I had other stuff that I wanted to talk about. I'm forgetting it all. Oh, I do wanted to, like, the most minor. I really liked the way that it's shot for the stage play. I love that it just played out the first arc, the first act of the play, like mostly, like not without any like inner monologue interruptions. It just shows us different parts of the play as is. And we get a lot of shots from like the back of the audience and stuff that was really cool. If again, another minor nitpick, I wish that when it has the big wide shot of the screens, I wish it was shot from like a little lower, like with the camera tilted up a little bit more towards the screen, so it would have felt a little bit more like someone in the audience rather than someone at the very back of the auditorium. But otherwise, it's a really fucking cool effect. I think they kind of cheated a little bit by replaying the opening scene of the film at the start of the play. But you know what? Anything to save on animation time, I guess. Yes, this is good. I think I like this. I think I like this season a little bit more than the previous season, just a little bit more. If it continues at the pace it's going, it might well outpace me reading the manga, which would probably be good for me actually, because apparently I like it better when I don't know what's coming. So I'd focus less on like the nitpicks of the animation and just get awed by everything that's happening. Especially with this insane abstract stuff that they keep pulling out of their hats. God, this show's so fucking good.
Alright, Oshi no Ko Season 2 is complete. We're going to scroll pretty high up on the list. Not quite in the top 5, but we're going to put you in the number 7 spot for now with a light 9. Honestly, a lot of the stuff in this range is very interchangeable at this point. I am just spoiled for good shit this year. We're having fun.